Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today we're focusing on the STAMPtember limited edition exclusive from Paper Artsy. This is a wonderful red rubber stamp set and I used it to create a 5x7 card. So here is a look at the stamp set. You can see it all comes just like this. And what I like to do is kind of start out with a general idea. So you're going to see me take this from kind of the inception of the plan or idea to the finished card. I decided I want to do kind of a mixed media card in a very Nichol style. So I call it controlled grunge. I think I've called it that in some other videos before, where it has grungy aspects to it, but in a very controlled manner because that is how I craft. So I definitely want to use this amazing tree from this stamp set. We're also going to use some background images, that fun little corner sentiment. We're going to use the present, the little gift tags, and then I pulled from my stash the Tim Holtz sign painter letters and coordinating dies, and then I also pulled out the A7 nesting frames. Now, A7 nesting frames, you say? Yes, this is a 5x7 card today. I could have tried to fit the tree onto a A2 card, but I think it's going to be much more impressive on a 5x7, and it's going to give me a lot more room and play to build the design that I want to build. So what we're going to do is take a 5x7 sheet of Hammermill cardstock, and I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine first. And the reason I'm doing this first instead of waiting until after I have inked and added my distressing is I need to know where that frame is going to be. For me, I'm very visual and this just really worked better. So what I'm going to keep the outer frame from the 5x7 panel, that skinny little inner frame, and the middle piece. We're just going to tape them together on the back with our post-it tape that we use to die cut our frame. And that's going to hold it together enough so that I can have that visual while designing. And then I'll just flip it back over to the front side of the panel. So I hope that gives kind of a visual to you guys as well. And don't be afraid to do that if you need to. I'm going to remove the insert from my MISTI and place just a flat sticky mat because these are red rubber stamps and I don't need that additional height inside my MISTI. And we do want to start by stamping that tree image, and I will be stamping it with Hero Arts Intensified Black ink so that I can do some alcohol ink coloring. We're going to shift it over to the left of the panel, leaving a nice strip along the right side where we can build that fun stacked sentiment. If you haven't seen the sign painter letters and numbers, oh my word, you guys, I've had them in my stash for a little bit now and I haven't used them. I want to use them on everything. I absolutely love them. So I have stamped my image. I mean, already, how cute is this? I mean, it doesn't get much better than a Christmas tree with text in the background. You guys know me, right? I do want to use that Merry Christmas and Happy New Year corner greeting, but I decided to hold off on that for a minute. So we're going to set that aside. I'm just going to leave it in my MISTI, and we're going to start coloring our tree. So what I want to do is give myself the visual of my tree. We're going to ink the background, and then we're going to add some distressing with one of the other stamp images in the set. We're going to mask off all the rest of the background and add some splatter. And then we're going to come back and kind of pull it all together by adding our stamped greetings. We're going to stamp and fussy cut, or cussy cut, as our friend Deb says. I know you guys are shocked. It's probably, not even probably, I already know all the cards are done. This is the only fussy cutting you're going to see during STAMPtember, but sometimes it's just necessary. It is very minimal, so it's completely doable, and I'm going to share a fun little hack with you as well. So we are coloring in the tree. We're going to color in the border. We're going to color in the star, and we're even going to color in the background. I felt like the background needed that color to it, and I really went back and forth on what kind of color I wanted to add. And I ultimately decided on blue, so it looks like a night sky with the tree in front of it, and I really love how it turns out. Really, really love this. Now, this is a very fun stamp set. I have to say, when I pulled this out of the package, I was really tickled. I mean, it immediately struck my fancy, and this is not what you guys might even consider like my quote-unquote typical type of Nichol style of image, but I love that. I love taking a step outside of the box, like dipping a toe is kind of how I consider it. Dip a toe outside of my regular crafty box, but then I kind of pull it in with those things that I love to do. So, and I want to encourage you guys to do the same. Take your things that you're comfortable doing and that you love doing and card designs that you love to create, and just dip a toe and try one little thing different. Maybe it's a stamp image, maybe it's a technique, maybe it's a design element, whatever that case may be. Maybe it's a color combo. And just see. A lot of times it leads itself to more creativity is what I have found. And I love it. I want to make more cards like this. I kind of call it a little bit of a mixed media, kind of quote unquote mixed media type of card. Already that red background, it looks good. So now I did the lighter red. I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of darker red here and there in a few places. And our star is going to be some yellow oranges. And I'm going to do the dark color and blend out the lighter shade. So kind of just go along with my dark marker. I love how it's very sketchy. Very, very fun. Almost like it's in a sketchbook. Now, I know some of you do keep sketchbooks or idea books. It would be fun to even take some of your stamps and stamp them in there and maybe write color combinations next to it. If you see somebody use a color combination that you think would work for the tree, and for example, let's just use this tree. You could, stamp it and just write the colors in there, or maybe just color portions of it, just as an idea guide, something to jumpstart your creativity. Or, maybe you just want to decorate your Christmas section or your holiday section with something like this. I could see, if you're an art journaler, this set is going to be amazing as well. I just love it. I really, really love this set. I am tracing now with my darkest blue color kind of around the perimeter. This probably took me the longest of anything, and that's just simply because I needed to color around it, and it's coloring a huge section. This is a much bigger section than I normally color on something, even though, I mean, it's not that bad, but I want to be careful going around all of the tree. So I went around the entire thing, the perimeter, with my darkest color. I blended out with my lightest, and now I am blending up with my mid-tone, pardon me. I blended it, the original color or first color, out with my mid-tone, and now I am blending with the lightest shade. And I'm going to just kind of keep working that until we get a beautiful, seamless, wintry night sky blend. I'm even going to pull some of that darker color up a little bit, and we're just going to keep working it. It did take me a minute. But about the time I get this colored, I can't wait to continue. This was the point where what I had in my head and what I was doing kind of came together, and I knew instantly how I was going to finish this card design. That's one of my favorite things in creating. Like, you'll have an initial idea. Obviously, I pulled out the letter stamps already, and I kind of knew I wanted to put them down the side of the card. But until you kind of get into it, sometimes those finishing details or how it's all exactly going to come together don't really reveal themselves until you're in it. And I don't know, that's one of my favorite things about designing. These are the things I think about while I am working. Like, I get excited about little funny things, like that the words "be merry" worked on my card like I wanted them to. Or that, here's the other funny thing. Obviously we aren't there yet. This was a late addition to my design, but I added a stamp sentiment from a Simon Says stamp set, because I felt like I needed to fill in a little bit more, and you're going to see that when we add the letters. But I was really particular in the style of font, because I really wanted it to have that typewriter-ish look like the Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from this Paper Artsy set has. And so I went to my stash and I found an awesome one by Kathy Zielski. I think it was released last year. It's called Season's Greetings. And it's got that same kind of typewriter font, and it looks like it's made to work together. I was tickled. Really, it was one of those things where things just kind of came together. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm going to grab my glass mat, and I have my Lost Shadow Distress ink. It's the winner of this Stamptember, I think. And I am just doing a direct to paper technique all the way around the edges. And you might be freaking out a little bit at this point going, oh my gosh, what are you doing? It is going to look good, I promise. So we're just kind of adding color to the background, even though it's very light. And as it dries, it lightens even more. So it's going to be very subtle, and it's going to kind of take away that stark white of the background, which I don't necessarily love the stark white for this particular stamp set. Now we're going to take this kind of fun background stamp image from the set, and we're going to stamp it all over the white space. That's going to include all over this right side of the card. It's going to include the borders, and where we're stamping, because it's the same color of ink that we're using, where we're stamping it over the lost shadow that we did direct to paper, some of it is going to fade out or be not as visible as it looks like right here. And that is because it's wet right now. As it dries, as it absorbs, it's going to soften even more, and it's not going to be quite as in your face. I don't know about you guys, but I love kind of grungy background stamps. If you watched my Tim Holtz video with Tim's Stamptember exclusive, I went to Tim's collection from Stampers Anonymous and grabbed all kinds of fun background type of stamp images from his collection to use with that set, because I just love them. They're something I turn to again and again. And see how I'm just kind of filling in some of the white space around the edges? It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just background. Oh, it looks good. I'm so excited. Okay, now I want to add snow. White splatter snow over my Christmas tree block. I do not want it over the rest of the card. I want it to stay within, I actually want it to stay within the blue sky and tree, and not really the red border even. So I actually had some leftover packaging on my desk that I just cut in half and I used as a mask, and then I taped the top and the bottom off with some Post-it tape that I had left over from running dyes through, I think. And so I'm just going to add a little water to the white Spellbinder splatter so it moves better, and I want little splatter. I want little splatter all over this so that it looks like a snowy type of scene. And we're going to be pretty generous with this splatter all over. And our packaging and Post-it tape is all just serving as a mask. When we're done, we're going to peel it all up, and I can just throw it away. And look at that. Okay, so now it has dried, and I'm going to place it back in my MISTI, and using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, I'm just double checking to make sure that it's fitting exactly, I am going to stamp my greeting. And I chose the black because I felt like it would show up nicely, but it would kind of work with the border. And you're going to see that that's the last thing I do for my card, is add that border. We're going to grab some scraps of paper now that I have left over from other projects, and we're going to stamp the words Be Merry, and we're going to start with Merry first. And I am stamping these with clear embossing ink, and we're going to heat emboss with red embossing powder. This red embossing powder is my very favorite. It's from Hero Arts, and the reason I chose the embossing powder rather than just a red ink, my favorite red ink, by the way, is Lawn Fawn Lobster Red. It's my very favorite. It's going to be really similar to this. But what I love is obviously embossing powder is going to have a little bit of that glossy raised look. That is what I want for my greeting for this card. What I love about this sign painter set is it's kind of grungy. It really works with these Paper Artsy images. I just love it. To me, it feels like it's just a natural addition to this card design. So now we're going to heat up and melt the first letters. I obviously have to stamp the R again and do that, but I kind of want to work in waves. Be really careful when working with colorful embossing powder. It can make a mess, but it is worth it. And because I did embossing powder for the red, I also want to do it for the black. So I did do some black embossing powder for the word B. While I have my Misty out, I'm going to take the present and the little gift tags, and we're going to stamp those with Hero Arts Intensified Black ink on another scrap of Hammermill 100-pound cardstock. So I have die cut my letters. You can see how awesome those dies that Simon Says Stamp has created that work with Tim's sets. I mean, how awesome is that? And we're going to take a greeting now from that Season's Greetings set from Kathy Zielski, and we're going to stamp It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year right along that tree block border. And I think adding that text is just going to be just enough to help fill in the sentiment portion of this card. And I did stamp that in VersaFine Onyx Black ink as well. Now I have popped up all of my letters with foam adhesive. I did a lot of them off camera just to save a little bit of time. And I am trimming up thin foam adhesive strips to fit behind my letters and then placing them down the side of the card. Oh, you guys, this sign painter alphabet, I don't know why I haven't used it. Lost Shadow, don't know why I hadn't used it yet. The sign painter alphabet, don't know why I hadn't used it. I am addicted. It is so good. Okay, so we have that. Let's go ahead and color in the other two images, which is the present and the tags. I don't really want to introduce any other colors. So we're going to go with our reds and greens that we used before, but instead of doing the dark green, we are only going to stick to the mid-tone and light for the present so that it's enough different than the tree. Our reds, we hardly colored with red. It's just in the border of the tree, so this is a good opportunity to make a beautiful big red bow, red polka dots on our package, all that good stuff. Now, as I contemplated, I'm going to have to cut this out or fussy cut it for my card. What was I going to do? I don't want to lose those fun little springy curls, you know, that are coming up from the present. And I already knew I was going to have to fussy cut it. And it's not a bad image to fussy cut, except for kind of cutting in between the loops of that bow. But I really feel you need to. You don't want to leave that white in there. And so what I decided to do is stamp the image again on our card panel. So we will go back to the card panel and stamp it again so that after we have fussy cut this and done a little bit of work to hide any of my bad fussy cutting boo-boos, we're going to be able to place it right over the stamped image on the background, and you're going to see those little springy curls. It's so subtle and so tiny, but I do think it makes a really, really big difference. For the tags themselves, I did choose to do those in like a manila tag type of color. And we're going to take a sewing needle, and I'm going to push it through the little holes in those tags so that I can thread through a really thin gold twine and tie it in a bow and then glue that to the package. So those are kind of a few things I was thinking through as I was coloring this. I like this light green with the red. I'm really loving like the darker green color combo and then going down a shade for the lighter green color combo. It's really nice, and I think it's going to complement the rest of the card very, very nicely. So we're just going to grab some nice neutrals to color in those little gift tags. I, of course, had to use the tag images. This tag loving girl had to use some tags, right? Absolutely. And we're just going to blend these out, and then I will do most of the fussy cutting off camera. Now here is a little tip I'm going to share with you, even though I'm pretty sure I fussy cut this off camera. The inside of the bow loops, I actually took like my crocodile hole punch, the bigger punch, and I punched a hole in each of the loops so that I could get my scissors in and cut that out. So if that's ever something that you need help with, maybe that little tip will help you as well. Now that I have my images cut, and you can kind of see some white showing around the bow, the loops in the bow, take a black marker and run the side of that brush tip along the cut edges of your die cut piece. See how it's covering up all of that little white that doesn't look very good because Nichol is not the best fuzzy cutter that there ever was. Some of y'all are just incredible at it. I am not blessed with that skill. Maybe it's a patience thing, but that is how I kind of fudge that a little bit to make my die cuts, not die cuts, to make my cut images look a little nicer. Okay, so now that we have that, I am ready to stamp my package on the background as I was talking about while I was coloring. And I want to make sure, yes, that's where I like it. So let's go ahead and stamp that. We're just going to take, in this case, I'm using my VersaFine Onyx Black. We're not doing any coloring. I just need a nice stamped impression. And we're going to add some glue to the back of our present and glue that down in place. So let's just put a little liquid glue on the back of here. And it almost serves as a guide to tell us where to go. There we go. That looks so good. And then we want to put our little tags on here. And to me, we just need to push our needle through that little hole. All of my hole punches were too big, so I just used a big needle. And then I'm going to thread through some of this Spellbinder's gold metallic twine. We're going to tie it into a cute little bow. Actually, and it's so teeny tiny, I'm just going to thread it through first, and then we're going to glue it in place. And once it's secure, then I'll tie it into a little bow. There we go. Just like so. And I'm going to kind of fluff it out a little bit. Isn't it cute? Okay, card base time. This is my favorite Spellbinder's trimmer. It has a score blade and a cut blade. So I'm going to cut down a piece of cardstock to 10 by 7. I don't know why I shut this. I'm gonna have to open it back up. I'm like, oops, not yet, Nichol. Don't cut it at 5. That's not good. Okay, let's open it back up. So 10 by 7. And then instead of using the cut blade, we're going to use the score blade, and at 5 inches, we are going to score our card base. And this is going to give us the perfect card base. So I'm going to fold this in half. I'm going to use my bone folder to make sure I have a really nice crease. And then we're going to put glue all over the front of our panel. I did die cut another A7 frame, this time from black cardstock. We have those black accents on the card, so I felt like our frame needed to be black. And you can remove the Post-it tape or not. It's that you've used to hold it together. It's really flat, so I don't think it's going to cause a problem. And I want to kind of just glue that down. Now you could remove the thin frame that has been stamped and inked if you want and do more of an inlay, but I kind of liked the idea of the black cardstock sitting on top and giving it just a little height to give us a little bit of a framed up look. I noticed I missed a little spot with glue, so let me glue down this layer a little bit first. And I'm just using some liquid glue here, and then we're going to replace our frame and look at how that transforms the design. Instant framed up beauty. Okay, the final thing we're going to do for our card is, I felt like our Christmas tree needed some ornaments. We're going to take the Simon Says Stamp Rainbow Splash gems in red, and we're going to hang just a few of these little gems from our tree. Not a lot, but maybe about, 2 or 3 per layer. Yeah, I like it. And that is going to dress it up perfectly. The perfect little finishing touch. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this Paper Artsy STAMPtember 2024 limited edition exclusive. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Don't forget that when the STAMPtember exclusives sell out, they are gone and will not be restocked. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, click that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new video. Thanks for watching!